At Channel Africa, Izak Khomo. Mr. Khomo, welcome. Thank you for joining us. All right, it's very unclear how this is all going to play out, but it looks like Mugabe is on the back foot simply because there's been no word from him. He hasn't been heard, unless you count what's just come in, that he spoke to President Zuma and said he has been confined to his home, but he is fine.
Yep, that's the situation. And basically, it's a coup. I talked to a Zimbabwe specialist, with us, Dr. Ibo Mandaza, and he said the thing basically it's a coup, although the army says that it's not a coup.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, by all intents and purposes, everything that's going on, it is a coup.
Yeah. And again, President Mugabe basically is 95 years old, and he is senile. So I think half the time he does not even know what's happening. It's like Bourguiba, the late President Bourguiba of Tunisia. Yeah, when he was overthrown, he was actually seen and he never knew what was happening. Yeah. So basically, he's not a player. Basically, President Mugabe is not a key player in Zimbabwean politics. So it's just being used as an icon by factions which really wanted to grab hold of power in the country.
If he's not a key player, then look at let's look at Grace Mugabe and her rise to power. If I can put it that way. If he's not a player and if he's senile, then what's her role in all of this? Because I mean, she's not well liked amongst war veterans, and you know, where is she and how does she come into play with all of this?
You know, in fact, people should understand the way that Zimbabwe has been governed and the key players. Zimbabwe basically, with what has happened there, with the erosion of the institution of democracy, the autocracy that's taken place there, and securities type of state that's happening, you've got cabals, there are factions which have come up. Yeah. And these factions basically, they really took Grace Mugabe, the president's wife, and put her at the head. In fact, she was projected to that position. She never created anything for herself. Okay. Yeah, she was put her on the head of the Women's League, and then from there she was actually taken in as a vice president. But it's a cabal which wants to put her there to get the continuity of the old man, so that they can actually do what they're doing. Basically what's happening in Zimbabwe is that people are looting. I mean, the elites are looting. And you can find that there are two cabals which are there, which are called the La Costa, which is led by the ex-vice president Mnangagwa, and then the C40s. But both groups are guilty of actually sort of looting the country. Just to end that, Mnangagwa is actually sort of been cited together with the army as actually having looted about 15 million from the Marange diamond mines, and that's the truth. So you can find that none of the two groups is innocent.
But then there's also these shifting alliances, and I mean, this is exposing cracks within ZANU-PF, because if you look at Mugabe, Mnangagwa and Chiwenga, all three of them have been together for decades.
Oh yes, that's what it's all about. I mean to say that these are elites who are vying for leadership, because everybody knows that Mugabe is at the end of his usefulness. Yeah. In fact, he's long gone his usefulness, and basically the position is open. Yeah. People who were together now, they're actually turning on each other, all vying for that key position of president.
And let's not forget, this was the army that propped up Robert Mugabe. So
well, in fact, the army has got nothing against Robert Mugabe. The people should understand that. Okay. The army basically, it's a tool of Mnangagwa. Yeah. Mnangagwa basically should be remembered that he was at one time the Minister of Defense. Yeah. And again, with the Marange issue, he was involved together with the army. They've been buddies for a long time. And it's when he was removed as vice president that the army came up with his statements of saying that they were going to intervene, seeing that veterans of the liberation struggle are being unceremoniously removed. So basically, they are bedfellows, the army and Mnangagwa.
Is he back in the country? Can we confirm?
Yes, he's back in the country. Yeah, he's back in the country. But then there's another issue that's unfolding, which is underlaying. It's underground. Talking to Ibo Mandaza and also talking to other Zimbabwean politicians. That's going back about 2 months ago. Okay. There is a undercurrent hand of Britain. Britain has been having talks with Mnangagwa. They've been having talks for the last 2 months. And one of the issues is this, that Mnangagwa and Britain, they want to come back to invest in Zimbabwe. And there are talks over issue of the land reforms and type of compensation or return of farms to those who lost the farms. And the talks are quite advanced. Yeah, and that's where you find that the ZANU-PF, the Grace Mugabe faction, said that Mnangagwa was actually sort of planning or conniving against Mugabe.
I see.
That was the issue.
Yeah.
And the army also support that move with talks with Britain.
Yeah.
Because there is a very strong move of trying to get back investment into Britain. That's a reality and it's been taking place. So there is that element in the whole issue about this infighting.
So a lot is still going to unfold, but then the question remains, what about the people? How does this affect the people?
Well, the people have been marginalized for the last how many years?
Yeah.
5, 10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically what's going on is just one faction which has become victorious through devious means or through means of actually usurping power. Yeah, but the people have actually been marginalized, yeah, and been marginalized for a long time. So basically we're going to see what is going to happen. Of course, the military, in fact, in earlier talk I said that it's not going to be a military government, but it's going to be a military governance. Yeah. They're going to have proxies who are going to govern for them. Okay. And basically the military is the proxy of these very powerful politicians. Yeah. The military is the tool, not that the politicians are tools of the military. It's the other way around.
Finally, I just want to get your opinion. Is this typical of politics on the continent, the sort of the hangers-on, the power squabbles in this race for succession?
Well, it sets new ground and sort of you see that the thing that took place in Zimbabwe is the erosion of the institution of democracy. Yeah, and it was a liberation struggle, a liberation movement that came up. Now you find such things which have taken place if you look at a country like Mozambique. Yeah, the liberation movement Frelimo, it has actually turned into a vehicle or a vessel for people, for the political elite. Yeah, yeah, freedom struggle elites to actually sort of grab the state, and after grabbing the state, they're actually grabbing riches of the country for themselves. It's a reality. Yeah, Zimbabwe is one country. The DRC with the incumbent, it's another place. So basically, it's a pointer. And I wouldn't say much. I mean to say it's a pointer even for ourselves, you know, about whatever it is. So people should be very careful. I mean to say that it's a new era. And again, it will unfold differently in different places. Yeah. Whereas in Zimbabwe, it was the one faction taking over. In other places, it could be just plain civil war and anarchy setting in.
African analyst at Channel Africa, Izak Khomo, thank you very much for your time. We have to leave it there.
Thank you for having me.